Okay, so last time, again, 2021 irrefutable laws of leadership. We talked about the law of magnetism last time, which basically says, who you are is who you attract. Remember, we kind of talked about that. Who you become is who you attract. This week, we're going to talk about the law of connection. So the law of connection, which says leaders touch a heart before they ask for a hand. Okay, so if you want to be a servant leader, and the leaders we're trying to develop here, is your first thing is to touch a heart before you ask for a hand. Okay. You really have to be a great connector to be a leader and want to connect with people and care about people. And he walks through probably 9 different things. I'll go through some, and then we'll have some dialogue around it. But the first one is to have a mind of just adding value to people and intentionally adding value to people. And so the way we do that here is by, again, leadership growth opportunities, right? We want to pour into individuals by giving them leadership opportunities, helping them grow in that, stretch them. That's one of the ways that we add value to the people that work here and the people that we lead. The other way that we do that is by showing them that they matter to us, right? We remember birthdays, we celebrate birthdays, we remember special occasions and celebrate those occasions. We remember the things that are important to them personally and make sure we understand about those things, right? That's another way that we add value to people and help them feel like we're touching their heart and not just, asking them to do stuff, right? And so the first part is just adding value. What else do you think we do to add value to people, whether it's clients or things like that, or just things that you think you do or can do to add value to people as you're trying to lead them to go where you need to go, right? Because that's leadership, is getting people to want to do what you believe needs to be done.
Just check in with them.
Yeah, just to check in with them, right? Yeah. How are you doing? Right? How are you doing personally? What's going on in your life? Tell me the truth.
Yeah.
Right? It's a huge way.
Like giving people opportunities, like giving them opportunities to grow, or do more than where they've been before. Yeah.
Here's an opportunity. Here's a baton. Take this, run with it. I believe in you. I'm one of the ways we look at that is you're giving away trust. Okay. I trust you. So here you go. Go make this happen. And then when you receive trust, then guess what? You start to trust. Yeah. Because you're like, oh, they trust me to I trust them. Yeah. Right. So there's kind of a dualistic thing there. So adding value is a huge part of the law of connection. How do I add value to you? And I'm touching your heart. Okay. Yeah. The second one is just to travel the high road. Okay. And this is what I call the road, the road of forgiveness, or the road of walking away, or the road of letting it go, or the road of taking personal responsibility. So the way you connect with people is when you say, I think I blew that. Yeah. I think I failed. I think I was wrong there. And I own that, right? That's a way you connect with people. And my question to you is, why? Why is that a way? Why is it that we connect with people better when they take the high road? What do you think?
Well, I think it's because then it just shows like you have the humility to be able to own it.
Yeah.
Where I think most people, if you like it, you'll just see someone differently if they're not willing to accept it or own that maybe they were wrong.
Yes.
it's like, when I'm thinking of people and when I'm saying nice things about them, usually the first thing that comes to mind is that person is so honest, he's willing to accept his failures, or that person's so
Yeah.
humble, he's willing to own that he's wrong, or
Yeah.
when he's wrong, or
Yeah.
she's wrong. So
Yeah. Yeah.
you just think of people differently, but then when someone's stubborn and unable to change or admit their faults, you're never gonna trust that person, because you're just gonna always think it's just, what's the point of even having the conversation? I'm just gonna be wrong anyways. You know,
Yeah, it's not gonna matter.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah, it's a fruitless exercise,
Yeah.
100%. What about you?
Yeah, I think it removes barriers in a sense that, like, if you've got a boss that's, or a leader that's constantly like, oh, you did this wrong, and then you've got that mentality of like, I mess up, I wish I was, doing it right like my boss or my leader or whatnot. And it probably creates a rift. But if you've got somebody who's like, hey, I made this mistake, let me walk you through it, and then you can relate on that level as to, I mean, the humility definitely is there too, but I think like removing the barrier of like, okay, we're in this game together. We're both here making mistakes and learning from them. I think it definitely changes the viewpoint of how you look at the person leading you.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's something that I try to do on a regular basis. If I really feel like, okay, I think I blew that, I try to pick up the phone, like, hey, I'm sorry. Like or even with my kids, I'm like, even this weekend, a couple times I came out, I'm like, told Kate, I said, I'm the leader of this house. And I said, I think I failed in that conversation that we had on the way back from the baseball game. And I just said, you definitely, I said, you didn't handle that the right way. I said, but I definitely was not, as gentle as I should have been in the conversation. Right. So it just creates connection, because it allows people to see that there's an opportunity for growth in that relationship.
Yeah.
Think about it as a magnets. When you ever try to push the opposite sides of the magnets together, it just pushes around and it won't stay anywhere, right? And you can never really get close. But the minute humility happens and it flips around, right? There's that. And notice that it takes two to flip it around. Like both have to be willing, a receptiveness, connection, right? And so that's really important for the law of connection, is you just have to have, you just gotta, I mean, I've had it here too, where I've had people who've just been super resistant, would not take feedback. They fought me tooth and nail, and ended up just, we had to ask them to go, right? And it was just because they just would not receive feedback. They just would not accept it. They fought me, and I was like, oh my gosh. And you could just feel the frustration of that. It's like, oh my heavens. Because somebody's just not in a place where they want to grow. Because you cannot grow, period, unless you have a level of humility.
Yeah, that's true.
It just can't happen. Because otherwise you'll never get feedback, which you have to grow. It just can't happen. So
like when Michael Zucker taught us on like the open, close.
Well, yeah, 100%.
You will,
yeah,
it just ricochets right off.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So number 2 is to travel the road. Okay, the high road. The third one is encourage others, right? And John says if they're breathing, they need encouragement. So people need to be encouraged, right? It's not once a year. It's pretty continual. They need to be encouraged. We have to have a level of a great job. I noticed that. I saw this. This is why we do this every week. What did you see? People have got to know that they are seen and heard. So you got to encourage people if you want to be a leader. John talks about walking slowly through the crowd. What he's talking about is just listening to people, getting to know them, hearing their story, right? Part of that is just listening. I was listening this morning to a book, and Howard Schultz, who's the CEO of Starbucks, goes to 40 stores a week. It's pretty impressive.
That's a lot. That's like,
Yeah.
and, but he spends like half his time
Yeah.
just going and listening. I'm like, that's pretty impressive, lot to be learned there. And a lot of reason why they're probably successful, right? He's listening to his
Yeah.
people.
So true.
Live a generous life, being generous, right? How do you be generous, right? What's a wise way to be generous to your people? That's a way you can connect with people. Love people unconditionally. It's a tough one, but it's a call to action. See the best in others, right? Training yourself to see the best in the other people. That's an area that I have had to and continue to have to work on, is just seeing the best, right? Like really training myself, because I'm very critical by nature and I'm much less than I have been, but that's an area I have to grow a lot. My parenting, marriage, all these, I have to really train myself. I see the best, right? I want to see the best in people. That takes discipline.
Also, you've experienced probably a lot of things that made you critical.
Yeah.
It's like I was telling Tom, I was like, when I was little, I used to jump off through the house into a pool. Now I'm like, yeah, I probably shouldn't do that.
Get slapped enough. Get slapped enough times.
Exactly.
Expressing gratitude, and then he says remembering names, which I really suck at, and I have to really say it like 5 or 6 times at night. I'll say it, hey, because I just, but people, and I actually did, I was proud of myself. I met a guy at church and I saw him again and I was like, hi, Tim, because I'd said it like 10 times, 10, so I remembered his name, and he was like, oh. And so now even some of the guys that play baseball too, I try to say like 6 or 7 times his name, George. So, but just remembering somebody's name makes them feel valued. People love to hear their name, right? So, and just remember this, I'll land on this, but the law of connection is you're either a plus in somebody's life or you're a minus, period. So the question really is, are you a plus or a minus in somebody's life? And you want to be a plus, right? How do I be a plus today in people's lives? So that's the law of connection.